AK-Xolotl or Axolotl is a roguelike twin-stick shooter. You play as a cute but deadly Axolotl rolling through randomly generated levels filled with gun-wielding animals, and in between runs you look after your Axolotl babies. It isn't lacking any personality, but will it hook you in with that one more run loop? If you've played Nuclear Throne or Enter the Gungeon, you'll feel right at home in Axolotl. Moving, aiming, shooting and rolling around, dodging enemy projectiles and returning fire to clear a room. At the end of a room, you'll be rewarded with an item, whether it be an upgrade to your stats, a new weapon, or one of the game's many currencies. Enemies spawn in waves, and I loved all of their designs. From something as basic as a frog with a boomerang, all the way up to a minigun wielding bear. It was great seeing what the next enemy had in store for me. And I think the wacky and weird tone of this game caught my eye in the trailers, and it also extended into my time with the game. The opening cutscene has a rip-off David Attenborough-style commentary on the life of an Axolotl, and it was honestly hilarious. I won't show it all here though because the end of the cutscene took me by surprise. And from there, the simple premise of a cute Axolotl wielding an arsenal big enough for an army is entertaining, and I think it goes a long way in making the game one of the more memorable pixel art roguelikes around, even if there are issues I ran into later down the line. As a roguelike, Axolotl is exactly what I've come to expect. There's a handful of biomes, each with randomly generated floors that house different enemies and rewards, and then a boss at the end of each biome. I was really enjoying my first couple of runs, the character was smooth to control and the weapons pack a serious punch. But as I progressed through, the lack of variety in pretty much every aspect kind of killed it for me. Floors began to look the same, the bosses at the end of the biomes never changed, and while I enjoyed the enemy variety, a few more would have been nice to distract me from the rest of the sameness of the game. Progression in between runs comes in a few ways. There's the Axolotls, which are new characters you can create by raising young Axolotls, and in between runs you can spend gems to add more weapons and items into the rotation. There is plenty of variety in items and weapons, which is great, and you can have some seriously overpowered runs, which is one of my favourite parts of these games. And even though I haven't unlocked all the items, it's nice to know that there are more for me if I ever do come back to this game. I will admit that after playing 15 years of roguelikes, they really do have to do something to entice me. Binding of Isaac Rebirth had a weird tone and so much content. Flint Hook was one of the first 2D platformer roguelikes, and BPM had a killer soundtrack, a rather striking aesthetic, and a unique mechanic in timing your attacks to the beat. Axolotl's unique mechanic is raising Axolotls. One of the rooms you find in the game are Axolotl rooms, which give you another cute Axolotl to raise. Here you must nurture them in between runs to let them grow up, and on runs you find cooking ingredients that are used to cook meals so you can assign different attributes to these Axolotls. There's a handful of builds and abilities that you can put onto these Axolotls. Maybe you want a slower character with more health, or if you want you can go a full glass cannon with 1 HP. You also permanently upgrade your character by probably one of the weirdest methods I've ever seen in a game. You steal the happiness from your Axolotls, and it fits perfectly with the strange tone of the game. For a long while, however, I felt very unrewarded. After a full run, you can usually purchase a couple of new items, and after a couple of runs nurturing your Axolotls, you can then siphon the happiness from them. And I got quite unlucky where I didn't find any new Axolotls for ages, and it meant I couldn't get permanent upgrades that make a massive difference to your character. I would have liked if I could find new items on runs, or maybe unlock them from beating bosses, but from what I can see, the only way to get them is by saving up gems. And since gems are mostly found by choosing challenge rooms and beating bosses, you can go a couple of runs without unlocking something, and I think a lot of my frustration here would have been alleviated if I found new items during runs. Unfortunately, there isn't much bringing me back to Axolotl. What is there is good, in fact, it's very good. The handful of boss fights are engaging, there are loads of items and weapons to make some runs feel unique, but ultimately I fell into the same routine of picking up the same weapons, fighting the same enemies and bosses, and nearing on 10 hours I've had enough. The developers have proved that they can make an engaging loop, but it needs more. While the items and weapons are the best part, it wouldn't hurt to have more, but the game definitely needs more biomes and bosses because running through the same floors only to fight the same boss over and over again gets stale. With a couple of big updates with more content on the same level as what is here, I think the game will be great, but right now I'm mixed on Axolotl. Thanks for watching. Are you interested in picking this game up? Let us know in the comments down below. I really appreciate your time, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all on my next video.